Hi.
Okay, so it's 5:05, so we're going to get started and be respectful of everybody's time. Uh, Bob and Judy, I am Kim Konikow at the North Dakota Council on the Arts. So we appreciate your time today. Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Leah, for helping get this all set up. Hi, Brooklyn. Thank you for joining us. The chat is open so that one of the things, and we are recording the meeting because given that we're going to be hearing a little bit about the history of the region, we really just want to make sure that people can go back to that information, and or people who aren't able to be on the call can at least catch up on it and learn something. Okay, and hi, Dustin. I'm sure. Okay, so Dustin is new, Brenna. Hi, Dustin. It's Kim. Nice to have you on the call. Thank you for being here. So just a quick reminder for everyone. So we're talking a little bit about history today in Region 8. And then and Robert Fuhrman will speak first. And then Judy, is it Ridenhower?
Yes.
Or Ridenhower, okay, will speak next. We are a very relaxed group. Don't have to get real formal on us, just share some good information. We gave a little bit of guidance just in terms of some of the things we might want to hear. Use the chat if you have questions, and other things that we can relay to Bob or to Judy. Each of them is only going to talk about 10-ish minutes, maybe a little bit more. We want to say, well, I'm going to cut you off if you go to 20, because because we want to make sure that we hear from both of you, but most importantly, we want to make sure we answer questions from the group and just get more information and have a little bit more of a conversation. And then we have a little bit of business and good news to share at the end of the meeting. So Bob Fuhrman, you are on.
Oh, thank you very much. I am Bob Fuhrman. I'm the director of the Dickinson Museum Center. I've been in this position just a little over 6 years. So I'm still a relatively newcomer to North Dakota. We've got 6 points of discussion that might be included from the email that I received this afternoon. Any one of those 6, I think we could talk about for a good long time. What I'd like to kind of offer this first time through, since I'm the new kid on the block here type thing, is that if there's a specific one of those themes that you'd like to see developed a little bit further, I'm happy to dig into them a little bit more. Right now, in the context of the short time I have, it's kind of hard to delve into any one of those 6 topics. Although I got to say, whoever selected or whoever put those 6 together, I think you hit on the really important ones. I don't know an awful lot about the Arts on the Prairie project here, Arts Across the Prairie, sorry. But Terry gave me a little bit of background when she asked me if I could help out. And that's what I'm kind of here to do, is help out. If there's anything on these themes you'd like developed with a little bit more background, I'm happy to try to do that for you and present something more in depth into the future. A lot of the research I've done, of course, centers on Dickinson, but Dickinson kind of styles itself as the capital of Southwest North Dakota, right? Nobody's ever said that to me. So I don't want people to think there's huge egos out here.
Okay, so what was Judy's response to that?
I think he's the Queen City.
Well, there you go, exactly. And everybody hits us for what does that mean? And it's like, well, Cincinnati's a Queen City too. What are you going to do?
The Queen City. Yep.
And nobody buys that answer either. So what does that tell you?
So Bob, I'm just going to interject one thing. And so this is also for Dustin because he's new today, and Bob and Judy. But Arts Across the Prairie is about reaching across the county lines and really making sure that we're looking at the region as a whole and the cultural heritage, however we defined it, but hence the questions to you and to Judy, to give us a kind of a place to come together and hear some of those historical views. I never get that right, but whatever, just so that we get a little bit more generalized background about what happened there.
Okay, very good. Question for you then. What is the timeline on Arts Across the Prairie?
As fast as the stakeholder groups can move.
Okay.
So given that they meet monthly, and this is now happening in 6 regions across the state. And then as soon as they kind of coalesce around thematic importance about the region, then identifying sites and putting out a request for proposals to artists. So I'm going to guess that there may be a site selected in Region 8 by late summer, and putting a request for proposal out would put us probably at doing some kind of a break ground or installation next spring.
Wow, that's actually a really ambitious time schedule. That's great. But yeah, you've been meeting for a while, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The group's been meeting for a while, but this group for Region 8 has just really come together, I would say, in the last month or so.
Well, I appreciate being asked. This is really kind of a nice opportunity for me. I know that we've got a historian from Golden Valley with us out of Beach. Hello. So yeah, I'm just excited because this gives me an opportunity to know some people in the nearby part of Southwest North Dakota. Certainly, as I said, I'm be really comfortable talking about some of these themes related to at least to the area I know. They're great themes. I don't know.
Why don't you just go ahead and start on one and share info with us?
Okay. Well, talking about where people settled, if we're talking about the settlement time period, certainly in this area, Dickinson became a major hub directly as a result of the Northern Pacific Railroad and its push out from Bismarck after the earlier crises, the economic crises in the railroad industry. They finally got things rolling again, 82, 83, and Dickinson is founded. Dickinson and its development, I think, probably reflects a lot of what was happening all along the Northern Pacific over the years that it took to grow across the state. I should say the territory at that time. And even here in Dickinson, in Stark County, I should say, Dickinson is, they think of themselves as the big deal in our area, but that never even came to pass easily. There was a whole big tumult with Gladstone, for instance, who was going to be the county seat. So it's really interesting. There's a lot of interesting egos that are involved in the settlement of this specific area, not least of which were the egos related to the Northern Pacific, obviously. But what's really struck me is this land of opportunity type thing. And I know that sounds kind of hokey, but this is like this wonderful laboratory to investigate the whole settlement process and the development of a Western type civilization out here. The different ethnic groups that come out. It's really this fascinating kind of cornucopia of opportunities and people that come together to finally settle this area. And it's hard to in my mind, when I know you're talking about a place and such to represent this region, boy, it's hard for me to start to narrow down, because I think of the plains and the people who are working to break the sod there to begin farming, the ranchers before them, and then the end of the open range. Yeah, there's just so much to kind of grab hold of, that I look at the idea, which only was really presented to me a couple of weeks ago when I talked to Terry, of trying to find one place or something that could be the location of a piece of artwork that would represent the types of things that were happening out here on what we call the Western Edge. It's a little humbling to be asked just to even think about that. So, Kim, you did the wrong thing when you said, Bob, talk to us for a while, because I will go on and on and on. But
I will stop you.
Oh, and I appreciate that. I am sitting about 6 minutes past where I'm supposed to be at this meeting. I'm staff representative for the Historic Preservation Commission, so they are actually in recess while I'm gone. And I do need to make a trip over there. But I'd like for anyone to make suggestions on further development of some of these themes. If you'd like to hear something from me, I'd be happy to put something together with a little bit more formalness to my presentation.
I guess, so the first thing I would say to you is informal is definitely the best. I think that we just want to talk with you, get information, and ask questions.
Okay.
So therefore, I guess what I was just going to say was, for the group, these are the thoughts that I put out there to Bob as well as Judy. Who were the original inhabitants? What was the natural formation of the geography that attracted settlers? Where did people settle and then gather? Were there conflicts in certain areas of the region? How has that region developed to what it is now? And are there some key themes that have affected development? And I'm going to put this in the chat so that everybody can see what those questions are. And then I think, Bob, if you, was there any one of those that you would like to just talk about today?
Yeah, oh gosh, it's so hard to just kind of pick something, Kim, but yeah, the natural formation of the geography is I guess probably an easy one to just jump right into. A lot of it is really dependent on the route of the Northern Pacific, because the development just follows that. The settlers come out on the Northern Pacific. They purchase land close adjacent to it. And certainly the Northern Pacific is interested in selling the land, because that's how they actually pay for continuing to build the railroad. So the best route, really the least troublesome route for the Northern Pacific, initially sets the stage for this kind of post-Native American era out here on the Western Edge. The railroad's looking for easy access to water, but also an easy route to build. There's just a ton of little facets that determine that. The nice thing about it, for I think the successful settlement along the route, is that there is just a lot of really terrific land. There's pristine prairie that could be developed, and it was not easy to develop initially with having to break the sod and what have you, but certainly the prairie land was very attractive to some of the kind of that second group of people that come out here, not the kind of the trailblazers type, but certainly those who are interested in taking advantage of the government land grants and proving up a claim on a quarter section of land.
Okay.
There's also the cattle facet. I've just been doing some reading lately about the development of the early open range, which by about 1907 or so, it's really mostly, my understanding is the range is pretty much closed up by that time. But certainly that had a huge impact, not just because, people like Teddy Roosevelt and the Marquis de Moore came out here and were interested in the cattle industry, but it really affects the type of cattle that eventually settle out here, brought up from Texas, the Longhorns, of course, but then also the eastern cattle that were coming out from as far away as Wisconsin and a lot from Minnesota. And then there was some intermixing of that as well. And it's an interesting story how the land lends itself, particularly when the buffalo is exterminated, and makes it very, very attractive to wannabe ranchers who eventually actually, they fence things in, they close the range, and they start to grow their ranches into serious, huge operations. Maybe it's sacrilege to mention, but don't forget it's not just cattle ranching, it's also sheep ranching. And particularly, there was a few areas around here where there were substantial sheep flocks at that time. Although I have to say, I've never seen a sheep out in this part of North Dakota since I've been here over the last 6 years. So I think the geographic nature of the land certainly has a huge impact on who settled here, why they settled here, and as the infrastructure grows, that is not just the railroad, but the road networks themselves around it start to grow up over those first few decades. It makes for a very attractive area for the waves of European settlement that come out this way as well. I drive down I-94 and I see remnants of small ranches and such that are falling down around themselves, and I think of what that says to us about those early eras, and even into the maturity of the ranching era when you get into the 20s and such. And that's why I think that when Terry described this project, that you wanted to find something kind of in the land, a place that could speak to the experience out here. I found that very intriguing.
Well, and I will say that what we tell artists in the request for proposal is based on this information. So then you take it to an artistic, creative interpretation of those themes and values and heritage. So to come up with an artist who can, this is how they work, translate into an installation, a thing that is close to the ground or comes out of the ground or lays next to the ground, like it'll be up to this group to help decide what that looks like and what it says about all of the region.
That's a fascinating opportunity. I am about 14 minutes past when I'm supposed to be.
You can take off. But we appreciate your time. Thank you. And maybe we'll just have to have you back for a full hour.
I really would hope to. And there will be a link for this video so I can see the rest of the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, terrific. I do greatly appreciate it. And I apologize for having to duck out on you.
No worries. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, Judy.
Okay.
You are on. And
all right. I serve as the president for the Golden Valley County Museum here in Beach, but I was a teacher of 40 years. So you'll detect that, I think, as well. I enjoy history and people, and so I'm going to let you have it. Golden Valley County, the term itself was when people looked at all the wheat that was grown here later. That's where our name means, the sunshine on the wheat. So it is Golden Valley County. We're actually on a plain, not in a valley, but they chose the Golden Valley. We would have been covered with native tribe that were the Sioux. And the reason they would have liked our area is because of some of the buttes and the rough topography that you find on our edges of our area. And there would have been deer, antelope, and buffalo that they would have hunted back then. I am a Sentinel Butte kid, quote, and so I'm going to direct you to some of the geographical features in that area first, okay? Sentinel Butte itself is the second highest. We always thought we were first, but Black Butte got us. And so we are the second highest point in the state. And it is also an interesting place to visit. On Sentinel Butte, there's actually a burial site recognition for two Scouts named American Black Eagle and Standing Together. And they were killed up there on the butte in August of 1873. They were serving as scouts for the mail train that was running between Fort Lincoln and also a fort on the Missouri River. They put stone pile up there. They actually took the bodies of the Native Americans away, but in order to dedicate them in memory of their losing their life up there, we have a plaque there. We have the stone piles for them. Sentinel Butte was also a landmark that was used by a lot of the people traveling out here. The butte itself is flat-topped and about a third of a mile you can travel east to west on it. And one of the things I remember as a kid was going out and digging the fish fossils. So, you know, at one point we were covered by water, and we have some very, very complete ones that we have at the museum. We also have some scoria leaf fossils that were found up there that we have as well. One of the other interesting things we have is there are a lot of natural crevices. And one of them that when we always went for our school picnic day back in the 50s and 60s, we would crawl through a long crevice off to the southwest. And at the end of it, we would see a carving that J.C. Russell, who served as the county agent for our county from 1920 to 1940, carved out like a figure of an early man into the butte. And so that's always something, you know, that we take people to see. I have to go down the wolf hole anymore, too big for the crevices, but we go through the wolf hole and around the corner, and it's very easy to see, and you can make the easier route of it too, but that's kind of a neat thing about it. Interesting, when the CCCs came out to work as a project, Sentinel Butte, as a little town, chose to have them make a road up Sentinel Butte rather than taking a water system. Okay, so they now have that, but back in the dirty 30s, that was the project. Not too far then from Square Butte is, from Sentinel Butte is Square Butte. It's about 12.5 miles southeast of Sentinel Butte itself. And there are a couple of interesting things on the east end of that. We have the Battle of the Badlands, and that was between Sully and the Sioux Indians. We also, in that end, we've got what they call Snow Camp, because it was when Custer and his men had to stay there and obviously made a winter camp. You will find people go out, as I worked at the Chateau, we had several groups that would go out and visit those areas of interest. Close to Sentinel Butte, you've got Camel's Hump, and then you've got Saddle Butte just a little bit to the north, and those were always landmarks that the people followed. Okay, Captain Warren Beach of the 11th Infantry led the Stanley Railroad expedition into our area in 1873. And Beach is named in his honor. The railroad was built through Sentinel Butte, which is actually 8 miles east of the town of Beach. And that came in by November 10th of 1880. Now, when they built, they only went 1 mile west of Sentinel Butte because at the time they thought that was the North Dakota-Montana line. It was straightened out later, and now it's a mile west of Beach instead. Sentinel Butte itself was plotted, the little town in 1902, recorded in 3. They had their first post office by 1904. It had the fastest growth then between 1906 and 1910 because people could come out for the free land or buy railroad land. And it had 40 different businesses, between 650 and 800 people in that little town. Now, with such a small homestead grant, like your quarter section, we had a lot of people in our county early on. But as you know, you can't make a living on a quarter section. And so when the hard times, the 30s came along, population just scooshed out of our county. Our county runs from area by Trotters next to McKenzie County at 144 degrees north. And we go as far south as Galva, the Alpha area, which is 136 degrees north. So we have a wide variety of topography of people within our county. People that came here were often of the Scandinavian or the German descent because they were farmers. And you had a lot of them coming on the immigrant cars into Sentinel Butte. They would unload the cars there. They'd have a horse and buggy because there were 2 liveries there. And then they would go out to the site that they had for their homestead. The railroad did a really brisk business because there were a lot of South Dakota immigrants that came up and a lot out of Minnesota, making the 2 nationalities prevalent there. Most of these people were farmers, and that's what they came to do. Now, Beach was first a coal and water stop for the railroad. Most everybody that came out stopped at Sentinel Butte, but the water that they had up here was more available, and they had a coal dock, they called it at the time, where they could stop the trains, load on, and so that became a big thing for them. The first thing that they had was a section house. And in that little section house, the first baby boy of Beach was born. Okay. Then we had a lady homesteader. It says the first of our area was Lydia Richards. They actually called her the mother of Beach because she was a teacher from Wisconsin that came out here, got her homestead. And there's some wicked stories about her with the Indians and how she was pretty much afraid of them. She donated 10 acres of land where our first high school and where the present high school stands, not that building, but she called it an agricultural high school. And she was a teacher there. The first marriages performed here was in 1904. And then by 1908 to 9, there was the brick building. It was built where the present elementary is. That one was replaced though in 1960 and then added on in 78. The old high school building was taken down in 1973 and added on to in 1990. And we're very fortunate that we do have a good education system. Let's see. With the formation of Golden Valley County, with the election in 1914, of course, there was controversy whether Sentinel Butte, being much larger than Beach, was going to get it or not. But then Beach had a real growth spurt because they promised a 25-mile spur line going south to Galva and then into Carlisle and Ollie, Montana. And so that meant a lot of people from that area wouldn't have to bring their grain to Beach with wagons. They could put it on the cars, have the railroad cars come in. At about that time, Beach had 9 elevators. There were 4 banks, 7 churches, 3 restaurants, and any other kind of things that the homesteader would need as they were here. By 1925, some of that growth spurt leveled off already. I was privileged to do the schools of the county. And I did a book up. We had 82 different rural schools within our county. The first of them built in 08, and the last one that wasn't closed until 1977. Okay. We also have the Home on the Range, and that was started between Beaches and Sentinel Butte in 1950. The Ed Levens family donated the land, and Father Cassidy at that time had the vision that he wanted to take in boys. And so it was first just the boys ranch, and then it turned into later accepting girls as well. So now it's just Home on the Range instead. Many people come out for the Champions Ride Rodeo, and that has been going on since 1957. Okay, when people come out there, they are skilled in doing a job. They have living skills. They have an education that is part of their requirement to attend out there. And they can be dismissed then when they're 18. Okay, another thing that here in town that you will see as you come right in is the military memorial. And that was dedicated in September of '99. The 1917 Company M was the second one of North Dakota. We're sending men to the Philippines and then on to France in 1917. But in 1918, the first of our local troops died, and the Legion Post is named for him. They are the Harley Salzman Post number 5. And it was the tribute to that man. We had 1,075 names as the plaques of granite went up initially, but they add to them as people are qualified and want to have their family added. What we do in the area is agriculture. We are very dependent on grain crops and beef cattle ranches. Sheep are factored in early on, yes. JB Stoddard ran sheep all the way from south of Sentinel Butte up to Beach. And then he sold off that land, of course, and you know how ranchers feel about sheep. So that was changed into beef cattle rather than the sheep. Most of our fellows now use the big semi trucks that get their grain, that get their cattle to markets. And of course, we're close right here to interstate, and that's the way we travel at this point in time. Now, if I have mentioned anything that intrigues you, you're surely welcome to come on up to the museum, and I'll be glad to give you a tour.
Thank you, Judy. That was really informative. We appreciate that. I would like to make sure if any of our stakeholders have any questions, thoughts that they want to follow up on with Judy for today, because we can always get more information later. I appreciated hearing a little bit more about the Sioux, because I was not sure which Native Indigenous tribes were really there in that area.
Well, they might have called themselves either Lakota or Dakota, but means Sioux. What I taught reservation.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions for right now? That's really good information. It's so interesting. Kimberly, question for you. Isn't that Sentinel Butte, isn't that where Bill Lohman is? Where his lodge is? Yeah.
Yeah, he lives up at Westerheim, which is north and east. He's married to my cousin.
There you go. Well,
small world.
I love his wife. She is a peach.
My first cousin.
He's a peach, all right. Okay. So anybody have questions for Judy while she's with us right now? Anything that she talked about that you would like a little bit more information on? Don't be shy.
I probably overwhelmed them.
There's a lot of good information though. Thank you. I think we're good for now. I think that's great for now. And we may ask you to come back and join us again.
All right, thank you.
And you're welcome to stay and listen to the rest of this if you'd like.
I have a meeting too.
Okay. You are busy folks out there.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. So for the rest of the group, good information, some things to think about. I think, you know, to me, just a couple of phrases that actually really stood out in words. Sod. I hadn't thought about the land, the sod that had to be broken into, moved, built on. And I just think the word is really good. But pristine prairie. What else did I write down? High points, originally covered by water, natural crevices. I think that's really intriguing. German and Scandinavian communities. Judy used the phrase for the home, but home on the range. I just like that phrase. And Michelle just added, oh, rattlesnake flats due to the amount of snakes.
I don't like that.
You kind of like it, but I don't like it. I don't like snakes. That's interesting to note, but that's actually a really good vision when we start to talk to artists. It's cool. Okay, some things to think about. So let me just fill you in a little bit on some news about where things are at, okay? First of all, in Region 1, in Northwest North Dakota, we're getting ready to plan the first artist training for North Dakota artists. So we're looking at doing that probably sometime at the end of August, I think. And what we're going to do is do an open call application process for 10 to 12 North Dakota artists who want to work with the Thane Lund, who is our artist, particularly in land work. We're going to have them come out and talk about moving dirt and putting in gravel and going below the surface and how to build things up and look at irrigation. And he's going to focus a little bit on just how you respond to a call for a proposal and what that's like from an artistic view, how you interpret that. So if you know of artists who might be interested in taking that, we'll make sure we send you the call for that so you can share it. And that's going to be specifically for North Dakota artists. And we're going to be doing that in all 8 regions so that by the time this program reaches further down the road, it's highly possible that we're going to have a team of 50 North Dakota artists who know how to do large-scale outdoor installation work. In Region 4, Northeast North Dakota, we had over 35 applications to the request for proposal, and they were from all over the country. It was a little bit of a surprise to us. We had only had, I think, 8 in Region 1 and Region 4, over 35. So we did something right and people heard about the project. It was a grueling process to review them. Brenna and I decided that if we ever get that many proposals again, we'll do a first run of them so that the stakeholders will not be quite so overwhelmed by the amount of materials. But we had a wide variety of applicants, and we selected 3 to move on to the finalists so that they will now submit designs that the stakeholders will look at. We're also moving ahead with a lease on private property. This is farmland adjacent to the state highway, directly across from the actual Dahloneskers. So the land we'll build on is below a farm where the Dahloneskers sit. So if you can see my hands, there's how do you then from this lower spot interpret what's up there, right? In the legislative process, North Dakota Council on the Arts was, well, it's not over till it's over, but it's almost over, so we're hopeful. But North Dakota Council on the Arts anticipates that we have been granted money to hire documentation folks, evaluation folks, and marketing. So we are going to actually start, we're going to start a website, and we'll brand Arts Across the Prairie, and then each of the 8 regions will have its direct correlating brand under the umbrella. So that's really exciting. And we believe we're receiving money to hire a statewide program manager who will run around the state and look at all of the 8 sites and help them get built and work with all of the communities and all of the local contractors and suppliers and help us get them built and then help maintain them. So all of that's like really good, like major progress, major steps forward. So just want to share that with you. And you guys are moving very quickly. So the time frame that I gave to Bob earlier holds true. We may be able to break ground next spring. So any site information from all of you? Brenna, maybe we could share Kimberly's photos.
Absolutely.
And Kimberly, maybe what you can do is say what we're looking at when she pulls up the picture. And I don't know, I don't think we have to spend a lot of time on the pictures. I think we need to know where we're looking at. And then I think there were a couple of other people who were going to, okay, you're on, Kimberly.
Okay, so this is north of Beach on State Highway 16. It's at a hilltop near Odland Dam. And over on the left side of the picture, you'll see, yep, that is Rocky Butte. On the next slide, if you're able to pull up the next one, Brenna.
I don't know why it's not here. Is that it?
No.
Wrong one. Is it? Because that was the one I had. Nope, that wasn't the one. Sorry.
That's okay. I'll just keep talking.
Yeah, we might not go in order. So
yeah, there we go. So there's the other picture, and it looks a little bit more to the east. You can see Sentinel Butte, Rocky Butte, and I cut it off part of it, but way over on the in the middle of the page on the left-hand side, that is Boolean Butte. That's Sentinel Butte kind of more there where you just circled. But anyways, the point to the pictures is that the topography, it's very rugged, rustic, and there's another photo maybe that you had, Brenna. That's Camel Hump. But the other one of Odland Dam, it's more to looking to the west. So it just shows the dam area. There you go. And then way off in the sunset would be Montana. And again, this is all on top of the hilltop on Highway 16. Okay. So that was one location. This location is on Old Highway County Road now, going east. And it's about 3 miles maybe from the Billings County Golden Valley County line. So this would be on the south side of the road. And then there's another picture, Brenna, that's on okay, this is another view. This is on the north side of the road. Again, just kind of showing some areas are the plains and golden fields, and then into the rugged butte areas that we're known for out here, the Badlands. Okay, and then there's another location, Brenna, that one. This is taken on West River Road, about, I don't know, maybe 1.5 to 2 miles south on West River Road. And again, just showing the rugged topography, and you know, it's very, very scenic.
It's so beautiful.
This particular one here is back on highway, old Highway 10. And again, that's just showing, whoops, not that one. But this is on the south side of the road, and that's Boolean Butte. And then there's another one also that shows more of Sentinel Butte, or that's Camel Hump, sorry. So that's on the north side of the road. On the south side of the road was Boolean. So again, just kind of to give everybody a sense of the landscape, you know, the plains leading into the buttes, the hills. And in the back of my mind, I always think of how rugged the early peoples had to have been, and just strong at heart and strong at mind to survive the conditions that we all know. So that's it.
It is very rugged out there. It is, no question. Okay. Did anyone else have any photos that they were going to send in?
My original email apparently didn't go through, so I just sent some photos to Brenna on the Camel Hump location I was talking about, and the Buffalo Gap.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's Buffalo Gap Trail, so if you can bring those
Brenna,
up and all.
if you can show them, great.
Yes. Oh, these are stunning. Okay. So, screen share.
Okay. What are we looking at, Michelle?
Okay, this is looking from what we would call the boat ramp on the Camel Hump recreation area. And off to the right, where you can't see it, it's out of the frame, is a chunk of land, which would be where I would envision the installation to go. Yeah, it's a nice little hill up there. You can't use it for farmland because on one side is the Camel Hump recreation area. In this photo, the same thing. You can see like a dirt thing kind of out in the middle there. Yep, right in there. There's like dirt, like someone's driving on the dirt road. Then off to the right of that, over in that area, is more to the right, Brenna. Other right. Oh, the other direction.
Right. Oh, the other right.
The other. Okay.
That way.
Yeah, way over in here is where the land would be.
Okay.
So just gorgeous, lush. That's across the road from it, actually, across from the highway.
Okay.
And then this one is again from the boat ramp, and see how there's like the little knoll up there? That would be where the land is. I don't have an actual photo of the land because I don't ever go over onto that. But, and then this is just another view of Camel Hump in the middle of winter, like late winter, probably April-ish sometime. Okay. So you have that nice lake there. The viewpoint from the property would be of the lake. And I took it a step further and talked to the guy that owns the land. This again, off to the right is where it would be. I included this picture because it shows at night when that sun is just about to dip below the horizon, that kind of golden glow that you get even on freshly cut hay. It's just gorgeous.
Okay, gorgeous is right. Thank you. So you talked to the landowner, and was he, did he think first of all, did he think you were crazy?
No, he doesn't think I'm crazy because honestly, he's my best friend. This is he loves art and anything to do with art, and he was very intrigued by the idea, and he owns a lot of ranch land around Golden Valley County, and he said that he would like to well, basically he told me he'd do anything. So if
he's a good person to have in your back pocket, we'd love to hear that, because I will tell you that private owners really seem to understand this far more than anybody else.
Yeah, he's pretty excited. And like I said, he loves everything to do with art, and he kind of pushes me to do more. So he was very intrigued. And like this piece of property of his, he said he'd do over 100-year lease, no problem. So
yeah. And then of course the state told me today, we don't do 100-year leases. And I said, well, you don't because you haven't.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we can't. And the note I got back was a smiley face.
Right. So it's just, it's a good location for everyone to look at and put their input on. And it is literally right off the highway. There's the on-ramp, and then you go maybe, I'm going to say 50 yards up north of the highway, and you take a right, and you're right there.
Okay.
We wouldn't, there's actually
so you know what we probably need then is and Kimberly, this goes for you too, but Google coordinates would be really helpful. So if you can find it on the map and give us Google coordinates in addition to photos. So everyone else, it's spring.
Yay.
We think the snow has stopped, right? So I need you to go out and take pictures now. I need you to find locations and send them to us with Google coordinates and photos.
And Brenna, I sent you that other location around the Buffalo Gap Trail, because we could technically you could access it from either the highway side or the old Highway 10 side, whichever way we wanted to go on that.
Okay. So photos and coordinates, region 8. You need to get in the car on the weekend and go drive around. Choose just your county or go a little further afield. Brooklyn is asking if you got her email with photos. And the next thing I'm going to do is start us on the path to setting a next meeting. So it is the 11th. Is Thursday a good day for you all? Would Thursday the 11th work?
The 11th of May?
Yeah.
Why do
you
I
guys just do a quick check? Thursday, May 11th. Does it work? Kimberly's nodding her head.
Works for me.
Jean says yes. Who said that?
Michelle.
Brooklyn, Dustin, yes. Terry, Jean, et al. All of you there? Yes. Okay. Thursday, May. Did I overbook us?
I don't know, but I do have Brooklyn's photos that I can share with everybody.
All right, let's do it real quick.
Okay.
And then Brooklyn, you can't speak to us. I know.
Can you hear me?
Look, we can hear you. It's the first time.
Hallelujah.
Oh my gosh. That's never happened before.
It's been rough. So this White Butte is the highest point in North Dakota. It's in Slope County. The state currently has a 100-year easement with them to access this point, since it is on private land. The Slope County just made major improvements with roads and ability to get out to this location. So it is a little bit more on some country roads, but all of them are really good. And Slope County has just done those within the past couple of years. So that's in Bright Spring. This is in the fall. So it's, a really big notable butte. Highest point right next to it is Black Butte, which sometimes you can struggle not being able to tell which one is actually the highest point.
Okay.
So that one's White Butte.
Okay. Those are beautiful.
And then the other one she'll have is Burning Coal Vein, Billings County. One of the trailheads for the Mattahay is right there too. So that's just, yeah, more about Burning Coal Vein.
Okay.
But then there should be some pictures there too at somewhere. You're still in the White Butte folder.
Okay.
So
Thursday, May 11th. Okay. More photos, more coordinates. Go outside and play. Play with each other. Play on your own. Get outside. Enjoy it. It's a short season, I'll tell you that much. I would really like us to think again about a Native participant. Kimberly, have you heard anything else from I know the man who you were reaching out to, and I'm just blanking on his name.
Kimberly left to
attend
the meeting. I'm sorry.
All right, it's okay. Any ideas you have about who we can connect with would really, I just think it's important. We need that viewpoint on this stakeholder group, because thus far, historically, what we're hearing is settlers and white people. Not a problem, but there were other people there. So let's acknowledge that. And we'll see you on Thursday, May 11th with some minutes, a recording and a link and all that in between. And, you know, I'm wondering, Brenna, maybe we could do a Google Doc folder with photos in it.
Yeah. And
yeah, that would be great. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll set that up and we'll send that with the minutes. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate everybody being here.
Thank you.
Don't forget to ask questions. Talk along the way. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks to our new friends, Dustin and Dean, Scott.